You are now listening to Next Legacy Radio, a radio station for the people.
Ladies First Radio Online, brought to you by Next Legacy. I am Charles. I am Brandon in the house tonight. And I'm here because, of course, my passion is to make sure that I take care of all the ladies out there doing everything positive and right in the world of business and personal life, professional, or whatnot. But also, I want to make sure that I spotlight and say hello and welcome to the listeners that is huge fans of Miss Cady McClain, which is my guest tonight on Ladies First Radio. And before I actually put her on, I got to make sure that I let her know this as well. And for all the people out there that's listening too, I think you should know this also. It's been, I would probably say, between Cady and myself, we've had a few interviews over the course of a few years, give or take. And as I approach 9 years, celebrating our 9th year anniversary on Friday, I got to say, this young lady is very approachable and as generous with her time as I have ever crossed paths with anyone of note. And when I say that, like, Cady's been very active, and as much as she is a very, very stellar performer at what she does in all genres of her craft, as far as acting, musician. That's why I had to start off the show with one of her songs, which her CD still is in my car to this day. Cady's been awesome, very approachable, and as sweet as a woman can possibly be, with just gracious to the media. And I want to thank her, and I want to thank all the people that is Team Cady for just the support and just everything that has been a blessing in my life. And I think knowing Cady and having her involved in my radio career has been excellent. So without further ado, I'll put on Miss Cady McClain, which is brought to you by CadyMcClain.com. You can check out all of her information, social media, all of the things that is this young lady. And Cady, I have been doing this 9 years, and you have brought me so many different levels of appreciation and smiles, and I got to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your time with us tonight.
No, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you, Charles. I feel so lucky to have someone who's taken such an interest in my work and all the different ways I like to express myself and in my art, and so thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm appreciative of the journey, and not just the journey of careers, but just the evolution of what you are becoming. Because being a fan, and it goes and runs as deep as All My Children, not just when it was during its heyday, but also online when it appeared as well, and Y&R, and I mean, you have a lengthy list of legacy moments, and being a fan of your work, not just from the acting, but also you being an author. I have your book as well. I think it's kind of close to say I'm a heavy fan, but and the music, I think I have like a nice Team Cady McClain little section over here where I'm sitting, where I have CDs and I have books, and I have just, I just really appreciate everything that you have done and continue to do thus far. So I also want to continue to say that as well.
Thank you so much. It's, I know it must be confusing to people sometimes because I don't really stick to one thing. But, why don't you just be an actor? I hear it in my own head. Nobody really,
right.
Occasionally people say weird things to me like that. But I guess I just do one thing until I feel like it's really good. And I'm like, wow, that was super fun. Now what can I make? I'm not just like play the guitar forever. Well, some people do, and that's amazing. But I don't know. I'm kind of like one of those what else is in the refrigerator kind of people.
I think you have a passion. You have a passion for the things that you do, and I think it comes out in a lot of your crafts that you're molding and shaping into forming your own thing. So I think that's a testament to you. You can't just sit still, right? You have to do this. Like, okay, well, I'm acting. Okay, now I need to play the guitar. Now I need to sing. Now I need to write. Now I need to direct. These are all passionate things that you have, and it's evident by the work that you've done, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting. You know, when I have analyzed myself a fair amount, because you know, I think sometimes it's important to take stock and go, why am I doing this? What is my goal here? And you know, when I look back, I definitely see a theme of that I do think there are certain things that are really important to say. And, you know, when you're acting, you know, you're interpreting, but at the same time, you're often given an opportunity with a really good storyline to say something about the world that you're in. And oftentimes, as an actor, the most motivating thing for me was to think about other people who may have suffered a certain loss, like the loss of a child, you know, or been through a certain trauma, or even had struggled in their relationships, and that really kept me going, to feel like, because I was kind of a lonely person for a long time, so to feel like I could communicate with those people, to let them know that they're not alone, that I understand, that I could somehow or other reflect back to them some reality where they would say, oh my gosh, that's truth, that's my truth, I've lived that, I can understand that. That was the reward for me. In terms of songwriting, I felt like as an actor, I was always working with other people's words, and so to be able to write my own words was really important. And I didn't want to just say them, you know, in a script. I felt like they were better to be sung. That was my way of making them beautiful. And I'm a big believer in beauty and grace and trying to express everything with that kind of note or color, if possible, to try to remind us, you know, myself and to others, that there is dignity and there is, even in pain, you know, we're not debased, we're not lowered to our worst selves, that we can find something beautiful in the moment. And then my book is very much so about the same, very similar theme, you know, trying to find beauty and humor in very dark moments.
When you say lonely, Cady, do you mean lonely with your creativity in a sense? Because I hear that a lot, and when I say lonely, I'm talking about there's so many things going on in your head that sometimes, in some cases, it's hard to express. So you stay introverted in certain segments of not just life, but just in general.
Well, I mean, literally lonely for me. I can't say that I'm. That sounds really kind of, you know, romantic in a way. Like, I've got this creative idea, and I'm just going to stay with it. And how must I express it? You know, no, I'm more like get a shovel and dig. You know, kind of creative work. Like, I don't know how to do this. I got to learn. Dig. But you know. My loneliness was quite literal, you know. I left high school at 16. My mom was my best friend for many years, up to my leaving high school and then afterwards. And I just threw myself into work. And when she died when I was 25, I mean, she was my best friend, but she was pretty. She was very much quite an extreme character, but she was still my best friend. And when she died, I was just devastated. You know, I worked so hard and I achieved so much when I was very young, and I had such a strange life situation. It wasn't like I left home and I had my own apartment. You know, I lived with my mom. Right. I think I finally got my first apartment when I was 22, and then I still had to go home every weekend, and it was very strict. And, you know, it was very hard to connect and relate to people. I seemed like a freak. I probably still do, but you know, people they're like, look at me like, what is your problem? But but I just didn't fall into that kind of normal social pattern in life. And so it's taken me a really long time as an adult to come around, and for other people to sort of come around too, like they've lived their social pattern and then they, realize, I wonder if there's anything beyond the social pattern. Oh, there's Cady McClain. Well, I guess, you don't have to follow the social pattern and to be happy. You could totally do it differently. So I wonder if sometimes I kind of stand for that in some weird way.
Katie,
you know what I mean?
But you know what, Katie? I think it's important for you to actually express that and say that, because myself, in a lot of ways, like you, in a lot of different ways, I didn't really move out until I was later on in life, in early 20s or whatnot. But I was really reserved, meaning I didn't want to just go out and do sociable things because it was the thing to do. It was, I was more. A lot of people would call us, and I would probably put you in the same category as, maybe me and other creative people, like deep within our thoughts, trying to plan the next move or just really just stay within myself in order for me to be creative or for me to be more, do more in certain things like that. I was like, so in a lot of ways I definitely understand where you're coming from, because I just didn't want to run with that crowd because I had to,
Yeah. I mean, and there's also the thing that can happen is you run with the crowd just to run with the crowd,
Right.
And there's a certain kind of self betrayal in a way that goes along with that. And I've kind of learned the hard way that is just not the road either. It's sort of better to be lonely until you find your tribe, and it may take
Absolutely.
a while, but the tribe that is right for you does exist in the world. It's a really big world, and there's all kinds of people, and you have to seek them. I mean, that's just what it's taken for me, and then there's tribes within tribes. Now I'm all around women directors who I really enjoy. And some more than others. I find I'm very drawn to artists and people who look at things from an artistic point of view or have an open mind about creativity, and they have a kind of a flow to them, and I just really enjoy that. I'm also super lucky that I'm married to an amazing human being who is the grace of my life. That I met again later in life. Didn't get married until in my 40s, and
right.
And John Lindstrom is just the cat's pajamas. What can I say?
Well, that's always a beautiful thing when you can have that other part of you, because I think any union that comes together is a togetherness of one. So I think that's always a good thing, and it's beautiful. And I'm glad you mentioned women directors, because as we talk about, and Cady McClain is my guest on Ladies First Radio Online, and people that out there, I encourage you to get a lot of information if you go to CadyMcClain.com. But some things jumped out to me, because I know you've done, and I've mentioned some of the things that you've done. You're a 2-time Emmy Award winner. You're a writer, you're a director, you're a producer, you're a musician. You've done so many things. You have your short films that you've done, and congratulations on all that you are doing. I think what you're doing with Seeing is Believing, Women Direct, is awesome for this case. I was looking up something, Cady, and women, I'm pretty sure you've done a lot of research too, but women, only 1.9% of the directors in the top 100 grossing films, 1.9% of the directors are women. When you hear something like that, Cady, and when you see that there are so many talented women, so many talented directors that is women in a quote-unquote male-dominated society where it seems like the man has to be the front and center, how do you feel when you look at percentages like that?
Well, it's depressing. I mean, it's just depressing. I remember really, distinctly the moment that I started reading those statistics, and it was a hopeless feeling, like, oh my gosh, I'm going up against such a massive, giant, tsunami-sized tidal wave of history and habit in this particular profession. Am I just going to get caught and pulled down to the bottom of the sea and just stomped? I mean, what am I doing? And it just, what am I coming up against? And then, I don't know, I guess I just felt so driven, so compelled to take this on, because there's something, it's almost like the seed. Stories, the stories that we all listen to and watch, when they're told from there, you can't help but be, as a storyteller, but you're the filter, you're the channel, the story, you're serving the story, but the story is passing through you, and so you can't help but have an effect on how that story is told. And it's not to say that women inherently tell stories differently than men, but we are different than men, so we can have a unique point of view. And the women so if you imagine sitting around a campfire and you never hear the women at that campfire tell a story, well, then you don't know what life is like 100%. You don't have half the story. You have 99.9% of the story. I mean, or 1%.
Exactly.
Well, you only have one perspective, and maybe many, many variations on that perspective, but we're really missing this culturally, societally, this other half or other side. So that's sort of one piece of it that's really motivating. The other piece of it is that I believe that when we as a society start valuing our artists who happen to be female, it will have this kind of domino effect where we start recognizing the amazing women that are around us all the time. That people can't even name one woman director. Most people can maybe think of Catherine Bigelow, who won the Oscar, but they can't think of the name of any other woman director, and there's tons of them. They're directing for TV. There's a bunch of them out there. There's many, many women who've directed wonderful films. So this concept that this grand and glorious media that we all consume voraciously, it could actually be, when people start wrapping their minds around it, oh, yeah, that's a woman that told that story. It shifts our understanding of what women are capable of. And I think that's a really important thing, especially not now and also for generations to come.
Absolutely. I think that's incredibly important to put out there, that when you go through certain percentages as far as the impact that women have or could have or should have in not just the Hollywood business, quote unquote, but just in business general, it's very low for very wrong reasons, in my opinion. And I'm a guy and I'm an outsider, but at the same time, my mom raised me, my grandma raised me. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I have other strong women, yourself, Cady, and others that have impacted my life to such a degree, where as men and people in general, like, we should find ways to be able to say, hey, you know what, let's increase this 1.9%, because there's so many different ways that you can tell a story. My daughter loves to write. She loves to write. Tennis is her passion, but she loves to write. Some of her stories that she's sending me or giving to me, it's just, it's beautiful because it's coming from her mind and her creativity, and I think that's excellent. And we have someone like yourself, Cady, who is very passionate. Like your short film, The Word of Albert Fu, it's still one of my favorites. And to me, I always smile when I think about that, is because, it came from your direction. And when you think about young women, not just my daughter, but just in general, and other women who should have the recognition and some of the creativity credit that's deserved. When you step out of your shell and you realize, wow, this is really an opportunity that I can be able to just, take the lead in. With all the accomplishments that you have, does being a director kind of give you a little bit more of a sense of, you know what, I can really make my impact here than any other thing that I've ever done?
Well, yes, because directing is a visual art, right? So you have to be able to see a picture. It's a communicative art, so you have to be able to talk to others and also have a certain kind of empathy level for the actors and be able to draw out a performance from them. You have to understand music, because when you lay in music or understand the tempo of a scene, that's very much a part of directing. You have to understand the writing, so you can break down a script and understand what are the important moments and why this writer was doing something. I mean, everything that I've done, every little piece of work that I've done up to this point, all are encompassed in this one art. And that's thrilling. I remember being in Soho after shooting a scene. I had to get up at 4:00 in the morning, buy food for everyone for breakfast. Independent cinema.
Word of a director, right? You have to do it all,
right? Director, producer. That was the producer buying breakfast, but it happened to be me.
There you go.
And then go, and shoot, all morning long. And then we had this lunch break, and I thought, that's just the greatest day. That was so much fun. That was just a thrill. My God, I can't believe that I've waited so long to do this. And then to hear an audience when we played like World of Albert in the you can call it Boo, I don't care, at the Soho Film Festival, to hear a packed house, full of like 300 people laughing and getting it, like the irony and the ridiculousness and the truth of that very human situation. Albert's a real lonely guy, and he comes up with a creative solution to make a balloon his girlfriend. Very safe. You know what I mean? You can't get any safer than that. But you know what happens to the balloon. But to hear that and to be able to connect in that way, it's just pure joy, pure joy. So, to think that women can't get this opportunity to exercise something that gives them so much joy and also communicates with an audience in a joyful way is, that's just tragic.
The short film was freaking genius in my opinion, because out of the blue, like, how does Cady come up with stuff like this? Like the balloon, the guy, Albert, everything, all the things that, what you would think of that's in, and see, that's what makes your direction of what you do, and also other directors, women directors as well. And we're going to spotlight our women tonight because I think it's really important. But, see, this is the kind of stuff that I appreciate because it doesn't get appreciated enough. And it should, and it needs to be on a bigger stage and platform that is beyond just this in general. Because I'm not even biased when I say this because of the women that I've mentioned that matter to me. But I mean, let's just keep it real. It's it's important. I mean, women does make the world go round, in my opinion, and that's the way that it should be. But when you look inside of certain things, because I know it's, caveman people would say, women have, they've been behind the scenes for so long, but at the same time, there have been so many women, Cady, you are one of them that, have all this inside that you are giving to us. And I always put it like this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but anything that you do, Cady, outside of giving, you give your talents to others. So that means you kill yourself a little bit every day when you give yourself to other people. And when I say that, I'm talking about the simple fact that everything that you do, you put a lot of time, you put a lot of effort, you put a lot of, what they say, blood, sweat, and tears into every project that you have. So you're giving a little bit of yourself each and every day, correct?
Oh, for sure. I work my butt off. That's for sure. That's for sure. But the purpose behind it really is like, is that I love people. I really do. Humanity, I'm not so sure about, but people.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
Humanity as a whole, sometimes you're like, come on, guys, pull it together. But people are really touch me. And, I think even with all of our flaws and our foibles, we're remarkable. What a remarkable existence this is, and how lucky we are that we can communicate to one another, find ways to communicate to one another that are so odd and interesting, that really can have an effect to go, wow, I never thought of something that way, or, oh my gosh, that changed my perspective on life. Watching many of these women's films, I've never seen my reality reflected back to me before in the way that I have in some of these women's films, which was so thrilling. I mean, that was just amazing. Leah Meyerhoff's I Believe in Unicorns. I've never seen a film that portrayed a teenage girl's coming of age from her point of view.
Right.
Going from a child to a woman in the scope of this film, it was just exquisite. Or, it's not out yet, but Deborah Kampmeyer made her third film, Split. And holy moly, hold on to your hat. She's about 30 years ahead of her time, but she deals with the feminine wounding on such an incredible level. Or going back 30 years, Lizzie Borden's Born in Flames, which is now considered sort of like the first most powerful feminist manifesto type of film, which it's wild, it's intense, it is so brave and courageous, it's raw, it's you may not agree with every bit of it, and it may not be everyone's taste or style, but you can't deny the sort of import of, or the art of that film. Or Sarah Kernigan's All I Want to Do, which, you really have to dig to find, but it's with starring Kirsten Dunst. And Sarah Kernigan was a 2-time Oscar winner for her 2 documentaries, which is incredible. Marjo, about Marjo Gortner, and Thoth, about a street musician. But All I Want to Do is about a bunch of girls in a girls' school who are fighting to keep their school girls only, because it's the only place in a 1950s world where they're allowed to exercise their freedom of identity without having to change their identity to think about the boys. And wow, what a powerful and important message that was. It was just like, and some people tried to just change the film or bury the film. I mean, it's
so important
unbelievable.
In today's day and age, Cady. It's, when you have a layout like that, like you just explained, it's important, especially for our young girls too. And it's important for even myself as a man to just really pay attention. And I think that's we're in the world and day and age of distractions, and there's everything for everybody, and you can be able to get everything as quick as you possibly can, as opposed to when we were growing up. But at the same time, I think the message is the best thing that you can ever give someone who is willing to pay attention, and the ones who may get it later, where they may stumble upon it and they may find out that this was for me. I may have missed this, and I truly believe, especially now as we all grow and evolve and get a little older. To me, I don't feel like I'm getting older. I'm just trying to level up. To me, that sounds a little bit more sexier to me. But I'm not getting older. I'm going to the next level. But I think it's important that we all appreciate time, because we don't have a lot. And if anybody out there that really and truly appreciates the fact that we do, good luck, because you're going to miss it. And that's why I feel like we have to make sure that we give our ladies and our lady directors as much credit as credit due. And, Cady, tell me a little bit about the SIB Women Direct movement that is frequently on your website. If people take a look to the website, they can go to the Indiegogo campaign. So tell me a little bit about SIB for the listeners.
Well, it's incredible what's happening. The film is having an Indiegogo campaign, so we're raising some post-production funding through crowdfunding, and the response has just been phenomenal. I mean, in less than 2 weeks, we've reached, just over half our goal, more than half our goal, 60% of our goal. So we're trying to raise $50,000, and we've raised 30. Today we hit 30,000. So we have 20,000 left to go, and it's just going to help us so much for things like the editors. I do all the main chunk of editing. This is sort of how I work in terms of the storytelling. But I need polishing editors who can smooth out the rough spaces, come in with other ideas. I need to do sound mixing, which I do not know how to do, and I have to hire professionals to do that. Colorists, you have to hire lawyers to get clip clearances. That's very expensive. Right. There's all these little details, applying to film festivals. I ask for waivers. I'm really doing this all on every level as carefully and as economically careful as I possibly can. But, musicians, people have to be paid. I believe in paying people. And so this really helps an enormous amount to bring all of those professionals in to help get the project done. I do have a first episode rough cut done, and so this will help me get that to the goal, so I can start working on the next one. And so it's awesome. And then we've just had all kinds of crazy, amazing things happen with publicists that have reached out, and film festivals that have reached out, and independent art houses that have, heard about it and called me up, and Stephen Adly Gurgis, who's this incredible Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, retweeted and gave money, and Lexi Alexander retweeted and, and supported the film. I mean, just incredible. So many people from Daytime have retweeted and supported the film, both financially and just online. And, and the fans from near and far have come around and just, told me that this is an important story for them. And so it's really humbling, and I feel so grateful. To go back to one of the things we were talking about just a second ago, understanding one another is caring for one another. And I do believe that women try to understand men, and when men come around and try to understand women, it just makes me feel certainly so cared for. And that's something I try to make sure to emphasize, is that, men are not the enemy. Bias is the enemy. Misunderstanding is the enemy. Not knowing is the enemy. Not trying is the enemy. And this, pitting one another, pitting ourselves against one another is the enemy. And that's an idea, and that idea can change. It can change with the help of men and with the help of women. We're kind of all in this problem together. So that's really what this is all about. And it's so great to have advocates that are men, step up. I've interviewed John Wells, who was the producer for ER and West Wing and Shameless and Animal Kingdom. I've interviewed him, and he was just amazing. Robert Munich from Empire, he was incredible, so supportive of women and so protective of women on his set. Michael Rausch of Royal Pains, and who's my fourth guy? I'm blanking, but they've all been. Michael Robin of Major Crimes. Wow, what a gracious guy, and working so hard to really look around and give women a chance. He hired Nzinga Stewart. She's now one of his regular directors there, and she's just so brave and wonderful and terrific, and it's so great that these guys are really making an effort to go, wow, you know what, we've been amiss, we've kind of been acting out of a habit, and this false idea that there aren't women directors out there. That's just wrong. It's just not true.
I agree.
So they're getting educated in it and stepping up to the plate and doing the right thing, and that's just great. And it should be recognized. So that said, we have a lot of work to do. It's going to take both sides, all sexes and all parties to kind of get on board,
I completely agree. People can go to CadyMcClain.com, click on the right-hand side to not just when you visit the website, but go and click and support the Indiegogo campaign. Make sure your donations is there. Make sure you tweet it, pass it on to others. Also, not just donate, be a part of it, because I think every time that you invest into something that is going to last a lifetime and generations, I think it's important to share. So continue to do that. Make sure you go to CadyMcClain.com, click on everything. Actually, while you're at it, just buy the book too, and do everything. I'm just saying, the book is amazing, and I know we've interviewed and talked at length about it, but I want to make sure that I direct people's attention to everything that is Cady McClain, because I mean, you have been and continue to be just wonderful, and as a fan first, just watching your career evolve, and you're doing so much, and not only that, you're doing so much to help others, and now you're doing so much to help others in directing, and you doing what you're doing right now as far as just blazing that trail as well. I know others have done it and continue to do it, but I think you continue to spread awareness. I think that's important, because I look at it like this. I think we have, to me, I think men needs a woman just like a woman needs a man. I think that can be the most greatest united combination ever. But I think what's important is I think we have to all pay attention to each other too, as well as the strengths. And I think if a man can see the growth and the passion that a woman has in her business venture, then you do everything you possibly can without conviction and with no conditions to make that a reality, and vice versa. I think when that happens and when you do that, I think that is the beginning of what we all need in life as far as growth.
I was so lucky to interview Deborah Riley Draper. She is a director out of Atlanta, and she did Olympic Pride, American Prejudice. It's a story about the first African American athletes who ran in Hitler's Olympics, and it is an amazing documentary. And she had her husband there at the interview, and he just personified what you were just saying. He was so supportive, and they were a team, and you could just see they were in it together. And she was taking the lead in this particular venture, but and he was her man, and it was just beautiful. It was just so great to see. We had such a great time, and when we needed to move furniture or move things around, we needed an extra vase, he was right there. Oh, let me get in there, let me help, and it was just fantastic. It was fantastic. It was partnership,
without hesitation, right? Without hesitation.
That's right.
Without hesitation.
That's right.
And to me, I think that's important.
Yeah.
That's very important. Yeah. And people have to just pay attention to it. And it's all built on unconditional love and support, unconditional respect for the creativity of another person. And like I said earlier, when you think about it, 1.9% of the directors in the top 100 grossing films are women. 1.92%. So 2 out of every 100 directors. Come on now. That's crazy. And then when you peel back another layer to it, 30% of speaking or frontline characters in the top 100 grossing film are women. 30%. To me, I feel like, and to me, in a world of women that is extremely creative and extremely talented and passionate about said field, that percentage should be higher. I would love it if it would be 50-50, but it may not be like that. But I'll still settle for it being 45, 50, 55, whatever. As long as we can be able to get our women in the proper place to be able to succeed. And I think that's important for everyone, not just women helping women, but men helping women, and so on and so forth. I think that's extremely important.
Absolutely. Hang on a second. My dogs are starting to dog me. They get ideas about what I should be doing, and now it's playtime.
I got you. And before we let you go, everyone, I want everyone to make sure that you hit up all of Cady McClain's social media information, but you'll be able to find it at CadyMcClain.com. And again, I got to tell you, it's I'm approaching my 9-year radio anniversary. You have been one of the greatest people that I can always contact and interact with and support, and everything that comes along with building bridges. You have done that, and you have helped my career tremendously, and I will forever appreciate you. That's why I'm going to go and donate to the campaign. And I want everybody that is fans and supporters of not just Next Legacy, but also Cady McClain that's listening, and I know there's hundreds of thousands of people globally. Just make sure you go on our website, right-hand side, click to visit the campaign, click on it, make a donation, do what you need to do. But Cady, you have been awesome. As long as we've crossed paths, you have been the greatest.
Charles, it's always been a pleasure, and I think everyone should come and talk to you. It's just a joy. You're such a lovely man, and your values just shine through our conversation, and I just so appreciate that. It's really always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey, and right back at you. And do me a favor, take care of those dogs. Squeeze your husband for me, and just know we're going to continue to not just promote and just spread our support, but also just put not just our money where our mouths is, but just make sure that we're going out to be productive. And I think we need to do it, not just for you and your movement, but also for every single women out there who embraces creativity and who's trying to be able to be more than what they are right now. I think it's important. So you have my undying support, Cady.
Thank you so much. And, on that note, just as a last note, it's so important, too, that women have each other's back. I mean, I call it, I say, my little saying is don't be a sister hater,
That's right.
Sometimes, women and girls can be highly critical of one another, and I think that's something that we all have to practice changing as a habit, is to say, maybe she's doing the best she can right now, and maybe she's going to grow more. Maybe this isn't her best moment, but it's an opportunity to grow. To speak well of one another and not tear each other down, because it's just not cool, and we don't help each other. It's an interesting sort of fact. Men when I've kind of been been really observing this, the way men tend to work in groups, and they do embrace one another, even though there may be competition, even though there may be tension to some degree. There's still this sense that they're a tribe, And women, when they get together, that sense can sometimes be very strained, the sense of belonging. And so that's something I think we as women have to work on, is accepting and embracing one another as our tribe. We are a tribe. We are the tribe of women, and we need to keep raising each other up. That's something that we can all do, like today.
I agree.
And so I just want to encourage women to do that, and it feels good too. Anyway.
Very true. And the best thing that anybody can do for anybody is show genuine effort, no matter the results. No matter the results, effort to me will reign supreme, because that means you put genuine effort to the cause. So I'm big on that. And
Me too.
I'm just so proud of you. So continue to do all of the work that you continue, and we're going to always support you. And I appreciate you for you've been in my life prior to us crossing paths. So I'm just grateful that we have continuous dialogue for a few years now. So never stop. Let's just keep growing, right?
Absolutely. And, when I get a little further down the line, if you've got some exciting stuff happening, I'd love to come back and share it with you.
Please do. Please do. This is your home, so just keep that in mind. This is your home.
Thank you. Oh, I like being here. My pleasure.
Blessings to you. Blessings to you, Cady. CadyMcClain.com is the website. Make sure you go ahead and go that, and make sure you hit her up on social media, all things Cady McClain. Thank you, my queen.
Oh, thank you, sir.
All right. More music with Cady McClain. Take care. Ladies First Radio Online.
Thank you for listening to the #1 radio station for the people.